Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Darrell here, and I'm excited to share with you one of the most innovative tools we've come across in a long time. Our partners at Why Institute have developed an amazing platform that helps people discover their why operating system. It's truly amazing. In 10 minutes or less, you can know why you do what you do, how you bring your why to life, and what people can count on from you. It's truly the first step in self-awareness. If you're a coach or a sales leader who believes in helping your people understand who they are so they can be the best version of themselves, you've got to check this out. All you need to do is go to whyinstitute.com and look for the Why certification page. We'll put the link in the show notes. When you reach out to the Why Institute, let them know you heard about it here on Selling from the Heart, and you'll be on your way to helping your team discover what drives them. Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Another great day we're going to have on the Selling from the Heart podcast. But more importantly, I'm super excited. We're just weeks away from the re-release of Selling from the Heart, Darrell.
It's fantastic. I'm excited. You've been listening to the podcast. You know the deal. Selling from the Heart has been picked up by a New York publisher. Major congratulations, Larry, because what this means is the movement is spreading. And if you want to help support the movement of Selling from the Heart all over the world, join us in supporting this by going to barnesandnoble.com and grabbing your copy of the re-release of Selling from the Heart. Comes out August 15th. And in the meantime, you get immediate access to over $300 worth of all kinds of goodies, including the workshop you just recorded, Larry, on how you plan your morning. And so this is such an incredible time right now. Fun summer at Selling from the Heart. If you want to get your hands on those goodies, just go to sellingfromtheheart.net/pre-order. And Larry, it's fun watching people grabbing on to all these ideas and saying, hey, we're gonna win the morning. We're going to start the day right. And we're going to start the day with intention. And I so appreciate the way that you've coached us in doing that.
Yeah, I'm just a big believer. The way you start your day is the way you'll finish your day. And I know for some of y'all might be going, well, I'm not quite sure. Trust me on this one. The way you start it is the way that you will finish it. And I just wanted, just before we bring Ryan on, I just want to give a special shout out to a near and dear friend who I've developed a really great friendship with, Sean Johnson. You're a heartfelt leader. We're going to be talking about heartfelt leaders here in a moment. Sean Johnson, I just appreciate our conversations that we have. They go deep fast, but you're leading from the heart, and it's well represented with everyone on your team.
Here. I agree 100%. And speaking of leading from the heart, Larry, we've got a great guest today. Ryan Hartley is the founder and heart and mind behind Always Better Than Yesterday. He's a heart-centered coach, consultant, and community leader. He's also the host of the ABTY podcast. He's a father of two, husband of one, and all-around great guy. Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Ryan, it's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I tell you, that introduction is so good. I'm so glad I got to watch it twice.
Hey, it's always great seeing Ryan Hartley. I've just a special shout out, though. This doesn't happen without our near and dear friend, Jonathan Darling. Jonathan, so awesome. Right. It was you that got me to meet Ryan. So spot on.
He's a real brother of mine, and he's just, I cannot wait for the day where I actually meet him in physical person. And just give that guy a hug, man. I love him.
So super cool. As we get started, Ryan, you know the question that every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers, and that is, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And for me, I think I really like words. So just getting clear on, well, what are the qualities of the heart? And for me, the qualities of the heart are love, are compassion, empathy. So for me, what it would look like to then sell from the heart is how am I loving people? And what that really means in essence is how am I serving? How am I serving other people? How am I serving their needs? How am I taking what it is that I have been given? I think we all have gifts and skills and talents that are uniquely ours. And I think we're called to use that in the service of other people. And if we want to go a little bit deeper to the qualities of the heart around this sense of empathy and compassion, I think the word compassion means be with, and passion means suffering. So can I be with others in their suffering? And I guess we would call that in the sales world is, what problems do people have? And how might I be able to solve their problems? So I think we all have something within us, within our heart, the things that we love to do in the service of other people. And then the compassion is, well, how do I alleviate the suffering of other people? How do I match what I have, with which other people need? And just to really round the thing off is that I really do believe that selling from the heart comes from wholeness. So often the world is characterized by selling, by creating this presupposition of lack. And I really believe that a heart-centered approach sells with wholeness, that the people we serve don't lack anything. They have all that they need. And therefore the honor that we have is that we become able to serve people with their potential and with their permission, as opposed to making them feel like they lack and are inadequate without our services.
Oh, this is good. And I'm so glad, Ryan, you brought in two words that are near and dear to me and near and dear to the Selling from Heart community. In fact, you and I have had past conversations about this as well, is you bring love and compassion into the conversation that Darrell asked you what it meant to you to sell from the heart. And here's what's interesting, and this might be a great way for us to kickstart our time together today, is we can bring love and we can bring compassion to our personal relationships. Mm-hmm. And we don't think twice about it. It's just part of human nature. It's how we build relationships. But here's my question. Where's the barriers and boundaries that you believe, Ryan, occurs when we bring love and compassion, or try to, in a professional setting? Because how you just described it is spot on. But where's the disconnect? I'm just curious. Well,
the disconnect is because the Western world has made love about an emotion. Has been made it about a feeling. And I truly believe that love is an energy. Love is a life source energy that calls us out of our comfort zone to be able to put others' needs before our own. It means that we become people capable of doing difficult things outside of our own safety, because we do it out of love. We are called to put others, no greater gift as man than to lay down his life for those that he loves. But fortunately in business, we don't actually have to literally lay our lives down. And I think it's there. So we when we make love as a life source energy, we understand then that we can just simply put another person before ourselves. And the paradox is we have to then first find that within ourselves. If you can't give what you've not got, well, then just imagine how much we can give if we've got a lot. And I think, just finally on that one is that, you have a concept called give a rip, right? So how do you teach people how to give a rip? You get to know people. You spend time with people. You walk with people. You understand the hopes, the dreams, the fears, the challenges of people. And then that connection naturally draws upon that energy of you root for people. You want to help people. So I don't believe we have to force love. I just believe we have to make space for it. And we do that by walking with people. We do that by connecting with people.
This concept, I really think this concept of love as an energy is very revolutionary, because you're absolutely right. It's, it is, there's an emotional component, and we know, research most recently cited by our friend Don Barden that, they're going to remember single-digit % of what you say. If you do a great job, they might remember 15% of what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. But I think when you look at love as an energy, rather than only an emotion, you look at it in terms of you're going to actually leave a where if you were walking on the sand, you'd leave a footprint. You talk about a heart print.
Yes.
Unpack that for us.
Well, when I was in the police, we used to teach our detectives this idea of Lockharts exchange principle. And it was this idea that every contact leaves a trace. So we would teach our detectives that because it would be quite helpful to go to a crime scene and think, where has the offender left of themselves, right? But I started to think, well, we need to teach our leaders the same concept, because we have an impact on people in every interaction. In every moment, our interactions are either leaving people better or worse, happier, sadder, positive, negative. And for me, that impact is heartprint. It's that ripple effect. And for those of you that know enough about the life source energy of love, is that it transcends space and time. So when we do anything in this moment with love, well, this moment is the existence we have is defined by space and time, right? Because with the short temporary experience we have. But that moment of love exists in a record and a library of eternity, meaning that feeling we have given people will last for eternity, because love transcends space and time. There's a record of that heartprint in all that we do. And I shared on LinkedIn recently, I wasn't sure LinkedIn was ready for this idea, but we know the idea of E equals MC squared, right? Energy equals mass times by the speed of light. And there's some incredible research that says that when we are in states of love, when we feel love, we emit these things called biophotons. Biophotons are the measurement of light. So when we're in the state of love, we literally emit light. So love, E equals MC squared. Our mass filled with light equals energy. So when we fill ourselves with love, we fill ourselves with this life source energy, which calls us then into relationship to serve other people, to do the things that are difficult, to be able to put somebody else before ourselves. And it's love that gives us the capability to do that.
Wow, that is absolutely mind-blowing what you just shared. That love, imagine like, okay, here's what we need to do. We need to figure out a way to literally invent a way to measure this energy force of love. So here's the new for all of our sales technology friends. What we need to be able to do is we need to be able to find a way to quantify and measure this. And wouldn't that be amazing if you could?
I think there are people out there. I think the HeartMath Institute are doing a great job of trying to look at the electromagnetic field of the heart, and they've been able to show that our heart can be felt up to 8 feet away from another body. Wow. And I guess this is how the animal kingdom work, right? The animal kingdom works off of energy. I think we're both blessed and cursed by the prefrontal cortex, which gives us the analytical brain. It's a blessing because we can think about thinking, but it's a curse because we can think about thinking. And so often the animal kingdom intuitively responds off the energetics that it feels in the environment around us. And we know that to be true. We'd be around leaders who just give off a vibe that engage our nervous system and we just don't feel safe around them. Well, I think leaders who lead from the heart will have a regulated nervous system, and they will have the ripple effect then that creates safety and calmness in those that they lead. And when we do that, we gain access back to this prefrontal cortex, meaning that we can do the strategy, we can do the planning, we can do the learning and growing. We can do all the things that the mind is great at because the heart has said, we're good, we're safe.
Powerful. So how do you get there? So walk us through just thinking about a sales interaction. And I'm laughing because I'm seeing the parallels from police detective work and all of that inside. But seriously though, in a sales interaction with a prospect or client, how do you lay the heartprint first? How do you do that intentionally, and so that you can get to that space? Because I think without that, you don't really even have the trust to go to the head anyways, right?
Yeah. I mean, how many of those interactions are called pitches? And if we think about baseball, I mean, I'm a Brit, so I don't know too much about baseball, but I know the idea is that you have a pitcher, right? And that pitch, the idea of that pitcher, the goal of the pitcher is to get the other guy out, is to have a swing and a miss. That's not business.
No,
our job isn't to get the other guy out and to have them buy the thing that they didn't need in the first place. So we have to ditch this idea of pitch and use our heart in that moment and posture it on them rather than our needs. I think my friend Bob Berg says that nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota. And I think it's and that's it for me as a person in that situation. It's how can I posture my heart on the needs of that person? How can I ask great questions to find out what they need? And if that becomes appropriate, try and match that with a way that I can serve that need. Because the thing for me is, as anybody that would go into a sales interaction, the thing I need to do every single time is to lead myself to a state where I need nothing. There's a Psalm 23:1. It just says, "The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need." And I honestly have to try and get myself to that heart set every single day so that my spirit can be defined by love and service rather than needing anything from a transaction. And I know that when I feel like I have all that I need, my energy can be so much focused on serving the one in front, which then, what do you know? It leads to much more enjoyable business to be done together.
Hey, Darrell, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Scott Schilling and his saying, high intention, low attachment. What happens if we entered into every conversation with high intention, but low attachment?
Yeah.
What would that allow? What would happen there? And it just ties in so nicely to what Ryan was just saying.
Yeah. And I think adding gratitude to that as well. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The way you start your day is really, really critical, because that frame of mind that you walk into the interactions with. Well, this is such a great conversation, Ryan. And in a moment, we're going to take a break and hear from our sponsor and from one of our friends about what it means to them to sell from the heart. And when we come back, I want to unpack this concept of the heart work. We've talked about the heart print. Now, next, we're going to talk about the heart work. We're going to hear from one of our good friends, former podcast guest, Brent Adamson, as he shares the epic answer to what it means to him to sell from the heart after a word from our sponsors.
Great news. The Selling from the Heart book has been picked up by a New York publishing house and is now on the Barnes & Noble website. To help fuel the growth in our movement of authenticity, it'd be awesome to get the book not just on the website, but also on the shelves of Barnes & Noble stores. To do this, we need to demonstrate how popular this book is by pre-ordering as many copies as possible. To thank you for helping me with this huge goal, when you pre-order the book on barnesandnoble.com, I will say thank you with over $250 in special bonus items. To get started, please pre-order Selling from the Heart on the barnesandnoble.com website. Then go to sellingfromtheheart.net/book to learn more about how to get your special bonus items. Thank you for your support as we continue to build this movement of authenticity inside the sales profession.
One of the jobs we can adopt as a sales professional is to focus on how can we, as a sales professional interacting with this customer or stakeholder or customer organization, materially impact in a positive way the way that they think of themselves. How can we help them feel more confident in themselves, confident in their ability to make decisions on behalf of their organization? How can we make them feel better about the decisions they make? How can we make them feel less confused? How can we make them feel more certain? How can we make them feel more competent? That, again, I would argue is what you do in a good friendship. I mean, if you think about your best friends, right, the people that you really want to spend time with, they're the ones that you don't just like because they're great people. You like the way that you feel about yourself when you're around them.
It's just so perfect. Shout out, Brent Adamson. What a great answer. And by the way, if you would like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Selling from the Heart, just text the word video to 21,000. That's video to 21,000. You'll get some simple instructions on how you could submit your video about what it means to you to sell from the heart. But I think what Brent was saying is going right along with what we're talking about here, that this way we go about, that we lay the foundation of the heart before we go to the mind, that the heart print we're leaving is critical, that it's energy. And I just want to put a highlighter on this energy thing for a moment. Think about how much negative energy is involved in a sales transaction. You know, basically, if you're in sales, you're recommending a change of some kind. Change has all kinds of risk. Personal risk, business risk. There's a lot of, there's some positive anticipation, but a lot of negative emotion. I think, how do you see the positive energy of love maybe counteracting or zeroing out the negative emotions of the fear of change?
Well, I think sometimes, the fear of change is actually the desire for things to remain the same. There's a degree of safety and comfort in things remaining the same. But I just want to pick up on the word that your guest just said there. He said the word motivation. And I think the root of the word motivation is motive, which is why. And so often we're able to tap into the more positive frequency of love and energy when we understand why we want to be a leader to begin with. I interviewed a wonderful guy called Dr. Gary Chapman. He's the author of the 5 Love Languages. And on the very last page of his book, he wrote something that kind of haunts me to this day. It says that for all the love we do not receive as children, we become adults that seek that in the world.
Oh,
so we have many people in business, in sales, in leadership that are using their position and their platform to seek the love with which they did not gain. And that's not always a great, it's not always a conversation we're able to have in business. It's certainly not a great appetite for it. It's almost like therapy at work. But once you start seeing life through those two energies, love or lack, or as I would call it, from love or for love, you then start to see, well, where is our motives? Why do we want to be a leader? Why do we want to get involved in the sales profession? And I think the call to action that I would have for all of your listeners in connecting with your heart set is learn how to connect with the aspects of you that you can come to the world from love. When you come to the world from love, you need nothing and you just get the gift of serving. When you come to the world from love, you become vulnerable because you only get that good feeling and that positivity if there are conditions in the world that are met. And, how often is that always the case? You're not always going to get every pitch. You're not going to get every sale. Meaning that your satisfaction, your peace is always going to be fleeting depending on an external circumstance. So if you want to tap into more frequent energy of love and positivity, learn how to come to the world from love rather than for love.
Which all this means, this is why we have to connect to our heart. And I'm just a big, huge believer, right? The inner work you do fuels the outer success you'll have. But one's going to struggle. Mark my word. I firmly believe it. One is going to struggle to connect to somebody's heart, that being their client or future client. If they struggle to connect to their own heart, there's a massive disconnect to this. But where magic happens is if you can connect to your own heart, if you could do that inner work and go down that journey, and get comfortable with asking yourself tough questions, right? Which are the internal questions to get to your heart.
Yeah.
If you struggle to do that, you're going to struggle to connect on that emotional level with your clients. I walk through this journey, Ryan. You and I have had conversations about this when I was on your podcast. It goes hand in hand.
Well, there's without being too biblical, there's this story that says that the majority of the disciples were not present at the crucifixion because they couldn't do something about the situation. There's something about the masculine that is a very good at problem solving, fixing problems and solutions, but is very bad with suffering, is very bad with being with people who are suffering because they can't fix it. They can't solve it. I think this is probably why many men are having mental health challenges, because they're more aware of their emotions than they ever have been, but they're applying a problem-solving mentality to their emotions. And if you can't fix an emotion, what do you conclude? Something must be broken. That something must be me. And I think it takes a brave leader, particularly a male leader, to start to have compassion first for self. Start to learn. Then I think this is the great tip that you put in your book as well, is that it starts with self-awareness, self-discovery. Who am I? What are my wounds? What are my values? What do I care about? How can I understand the depths of me? Because when I coach people in relationships, I help the women understand that they can't meet the depths of her any further than they've met the depths of themselves. So we're talking about a brave new world here with men who have been conditioned out of their hearts to go back into their hearts. Why? So that they may be able to connect at the depths of the people that they lead. Here's a paradox, right? I interviewed a wonderful guy called Dr. Gordon Neufeld. He is a co-author of a book called Hold On to Your Kids with Gabor Mate. And in it, he says it's not your desire to be a parent and a good parent that creates the context for being a parent. It's actually whether the child feels like there's an attachment. And if the child feels like they are attached to the parent, they will give the parent the permission to be the parent, i.e. they will submit to their authority. They will submit to their leadership. I think the same's true when we're in business. It's not the leader with the title that sets the condition for being a leader. It's whether the people we lead feel safe enough or inspired enough to follow us. And then they give us the permission and the authority to follow willfully. See, we're not a leader if people follow us because they have to. We're a leader because people choose to follow us because they want to.
Wow. This is so profound. I wish we had 3 more hours to unpack this. One of the things just out of that, and I know everyone listening, this is one you want to rewind and really chew on this. But one of the phrases we coined here at Selling from the Heart was commission breath. And that's walking in desperate, right? Everyone can smell it. But I think what you've just uncovered here and brought to the surface is something that's underneath all of that. It's that, the broken heart inside of us that is looking for some type of validation from our ability to close a sale, our ability to crush quota. And, when you approach with that, it's very hard to be authentic, and people can smell it. And the other thing is, as soon as you do that, you've just given the power of your quota and your success to totally take you out when you don't hit it. And thus, some of the huge mental health issues in sales. Wow. That's right. I feel like everyone listening is going, oh man, what do we do now?
This is what reminded me. I was listening to what Ryan was saying, and I'm just an avid book reader. I just love reading books. I'm currently reading a book called Wired for Authenticity. And what's interesting about it is early on, and just a special shout out, her name's Hannah Inman, or Einam, if I'm pronouncing her last name right, is I-N-A-M, but Hannah. And what she went on to say, and this goes back to your love and compassion that you shared with us earlier on in the podcast, Ryan. She believes it's easier for women to bring love and compassion at a leadership level into the business world as opposed to men, because women are wired for it more than men are wired for it. And that's what I thought was just massively interesting, because it ties into what you've been saying.
So I've been journeying. I agree partly, and I slightly disagree, because I think we have to start to understand, what does love look like? And I think it looks different in masculine and it looks different in feminine. Yeah. Think about the police service, right? A police officer or a firefighter who goes into a burning building to rescue, that is an act of sacrificial service and love. So we have to understand that it can look and feel very different. Sometimes love just listens and holds space and can be compassionate and hold, which is a very feminine quality. But a masculine is, how can I serve? How can I protect? Yeah. How can I be honorable and noble? So I think there's a lot of this talk about toxic masculinity. I don't believe masculinity to be toxic. I believe the absence of masculinity to be toxic. There are many men who are so far removed from the masculinity element, the purity element of it, that they become self-serving. They become unable to regulate their emotions. They become addicted. They become self-serving, and they use power over rather than power within. And I think that's the absence of masculinity, because the purity of masculinity is one of honor. It's noble, it's serving, it's protective, it provides. So I agree with that comment slightly, but I challenge it, and I think we have to open our perspective to what a loving man looks like.
And then we're back to this heart of service once again, and love. Well, I absolutely have enjoyed this conversation, Ryan, and I know you'll be back on the Selling from the Heart podcast sometime soon, because you opened so many conversation threads here that have got my mind spinning.
Oh, thank you, brother. Can I just expand on the word you said earlier, authenticity? I interviewed a guy called Dr. John DeMartini, and he says the purpose of love isn't happiness, it's authenticity.
Yeah.
And I loved that kind of redefinition, because it's the context of love. And if you think about the characteristics of love, which is unconditional, it's like that unconditional environment that gives me the permission and freedom to be my fullest expression, which is authenticity, isn't it? There's no gap between who I believe myself to be and who I show myself to be. It's when my words and actions are a true reflection of what I think and what I feel. And it is the safety that love provides that gives me the fullest permission to be that. So I love that. I think authenticity is crucial.
And this is why it's so important. And I'll just put a bow on what you just said. This is why it's so important, Ryan. You have to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
And if you have to go down that road, if you want to bring your true, genuine, authentic self to the forefront, you got to do the work. Yeah. You have to do the work. And I believe if you're not willing to do the work, you're never going to uncover your true, authentic self. It's just at the surface level.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yep. And that leads me to my final question, Ryan. If people want to do some hard work, which is sometimes some hard work, but it's worth it, how can they get more Ryan Hartley in their life?
That's very kind. Thank you, brothers, for the platform you provide. This is an incredible. It's one of my favorite podcasts I've ever been on. It is very, very good, very professional. I absolutely love it. It's simple, 4 letters, abty.co.uk. That's my website. You'll find all the expressions of our heart work, which is coaching, consulting. We run a community. We host a podcast. So much there for free because I think the transformation is in the experience. And I think that's another kind of thing when it comes to selling from the heart. So much actually, I try not to sell, but serve, give you an experience, give you the possibility of a transformation. And then if you like it, then maybe you'll come and get some more.
Always better than yesterday. So Ryan, thank you so much. You're a true Selling from the Heart champion. We appreciate you.
Darrell.
Whoa.
Wow. I'm just a firm believer. People enter your lives at the right time for the right reason. Mm-hmm. And oh my, Ryan is just a kindred spirit. I mean, what he shares and what he believes in so aligns to why we firmly believe. And I'll throw a stake in this thing. You have to get to know yourself. If you struggle to get to know yourself, it's going to really, truly be difficult to either serve from the heart or sell from the heart.
So true. And that heart print, what a great word. We're going to be quoting Ryan on this many, many times, I think, in the years to come. We leave a heart print. We leave a heart print, that footprint, that impression behind, and it happens at the level of the heart. And this is why it's so important to do the inner work. It's the way your authentic self sells you, or to flip it upside down, the way your inauthentic self, is like having a boat anchor on your results and your satisfaction. Such great stuff here, Larry.
No, and I just have to throw this out. And this is just something that I want everyone who's either listening or watching right now to really think about. And it just dovetails in with what you just said that Ryan shared about heart print. So I'm just going to take out the word heart and just call it a footprint just for a moment. But I think y'all will get where I'm going with this. Is this week, I want you to reflect on all your conversations, whether those be professionally or personally. Then ask yourself, what kind of footprint have I just left in those conversations? How did I make somebody feel during that conversation? How did I leave that conversation? And it ties right in. Did I leave a heart print along the way?
So powerful. Well, Larry, this has been a great conversation. We got many more queued up for the rest of the summer. So make sure to like or subscribe on the platform on which you listen. And if you haven't left a referral on a review on the platform about what you think about the Selling from the Heart podcast, we deeply appreciate it. It helps us spread the word and spread this movement. Right now, Barnes & Noble is re-releasing Selling from the Heart on August 15th. When you pre-order, you get access to over $300 worth of bonuses. So don't miss out on that. sellingfromtheheart.net/pre-order. And until next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, be aware of your heart print, do the heart work, and most of all,
sell from the heart.